I'm Stephen John Drew from the official GonnaGeek.com podcast, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out other geeky podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
This guy gets more airtime than the Kardashians, right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back to our little newspaper called the Starling Tribune. Contrary to what Facebook thinks, I am Stargate Pioneer. My friends call me SP, and I'll be this week your chief editor in charge of Starling Tribune Newsroom. Your reporters for this episode 6 of season 5 of the Starling Tribune are Chris.
Who knew Prometheus was such a Babylon 5 fanboy?
And Michelle.
Without unity, one cannot accomplish anything in life.
This podcast is recorded on Thursday, November 10th, 2016, live on Geeks.live. We are all comic book enthusiasts, right, Chris?
Yeah, but I've been reading mostly The Walking Dead lately because I was so far behind.
And Michelle.
I have to admit, the Walking Dead comics been pretty good.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
caught up, Chris?
No, I'm not at all caught up. I think I have another 15 issues to read before I'm caught up. I was that far behind.
I will not spoil what happens, but Negan.
And if you want to check out more about the comics of The Walking Dead, you can definitely check out the AMC television show, The Walking Dead, on Sunday nights. But we're talking about Arrow over on the CW network. Tonight we'll be discussing this week of Arrow, as well as news, interviews, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the last week that could impact future episodes of Arrow, as well as The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and The Walking Dead? No, that's different.
No, we're going to talk about the Fear of the Walking Dead. It's the best television show. No, it's not. I'm sorry. Let me get back on script, guys. No, this isn't Fear the Walking Dead. But just a reminder, our speculations are going to include a lot of information that the showrunners and actors have shared via interviews and panels, things like that. And even if we throw out our wild speculation, we might just happen to be right every once in a while. So consider yourself warned that our random theorizing could end up being right, could be considered a spoiler. Speaking of spoilers, sometimes we do geek out and talk about the latest DC comics. So once in a while, there could be a comic book spoiler as well. So please consider yourself warned. We'll try our best not to ruin anything for you, but it might accidentally happen because when we get excited, we geek out and lose control.
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. If you like our content, why don't you swing by our podcast network home at GonnaGeek.com, where you can find all of our past shows, plus a ton of other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles, all under the Gonna Geek Productions banner.
It's so great, Chris, that you said lose control, and Michelle just took it like a pro and went right into her promo read. In any event, thank you guys. Michelle, since you did such a great job with that, why don't you go ahead and break down the current episode for us?
Current episode is So It Begins. This is Season 5, Episode 6. It aired Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. Director was John Baring. He's done 13 Arrow, 5 Grimm, 2 Gotham, a show I just started recently watching, and it's pretty good. 1 The Flash, 1 of the 100, and 8 of the Vampire Diaries. Writers, we get the showrunner herself, Wendy Miracle, 19 Arrow, 1 Star Wars The Clone Wars, 4 Eli Stone, and 1 Smallville. I didn't know about the Smallville one. That's cool. And Brian Ford Sullivan has done 10 Arrow and 7 Vixen.
The Vixen ones are pretty cool. I've been watching those on CW Seed. So this episode is entitled So It Begins. I think right at the beginning of the episode, we get where the title comes from, at least one of the ways, because, you know, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to write something in gasoline on like a cement floor somewhere and light it on fire and then take a picture and the
Don't do
words
it.
in flames.
Don't. I'll just say a friend told me it's a bad idea if you do that.
Oh, why is that?
Because your mom gets mad at you, is what my friend said.
Well, you don't do it at home. You do it in an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah, your mom still gets mad at you.
Oh, okay. Well, Chris, what are the other ways of So It Begins intertwining in the episode?
It's a Babylon 5 reference. That's really all that matters. Babylon
I
5 is one of the best shows ever.
Wish I would have seen it to pick up that reference. Michelle, what do you got for us?
Well, it also the beginning of, Prometheus trying to put the smackdown on Green Arrow. So it's beginning of that conflict.
It's the real beginning of the Green Arrow v Prometheus thing. We've had a lot of setup as Prometheus is sitting behind the scenes watching what's happening and kind of, telling Tobias Church, the arrow is mine, you don't mess with him. And now it's Prometheus's time to shine. He's ready to come out of the shadows and reveal himself more.
There is nothing standing in his way anymore. No third party to broker.
No, he just needs the endless supply of shurikens so he can just go thunk, thunk, thunk into people's necks.
Well,
That's all he needs.
Oliver
Is that
has
your
left
throwing star sound effect.
I thought I would. I thought I would. Channel Felicity, kind of maybe. I don't know, improve or not improve on that. I don't know. What do you think?
There's definitely room to improve. We'll talk about that later. Chris, what do you got?
I was going to say, the way Oliver leaves arrows around town, there's plenty of arrowheads that can be melted down to make more ninja stars. Let's be honest here. Especially if you start going back to season 1 with all the people he put down. There's plenty of arrows to be had.
That's right. Arrows, parachutes, boxing gloves, they're all around town.
I love that parachute arrow so much. It's
I'm
so
glad
dumb,
it
but I
came
love
back.
it.
Well, it came back and it was more improved. It was actually green versus white.
Enhancements. Who's his gear guy
That's
at
right.
this point? Is it still the same guy we saw in the season 2 comics or whatnot, I wonder?
I have not seen any change. Maybe
Maybe
Neil
it's
knows a little
Cisco.
bit better, but
It's
yeah,
probably
it's still the
Cisco
same guy.
now. Cisco probably made the parachute arrow for him. We'll get some reference in the crossover. I bet to like, hey, how's that parachute arrow working out for you? You gotten to use it yet? I bet we get something.
twice. It was great. It was great. And of course, the CGI came in with the green parachute this time, as well as, this took me back to the first season when they were doing the tennis balls up on the side of the wall. And of course, the tennis balls are CGI, the arrows are CGI. Didn't realize that first season. I thought Stephen Amell was actually shooting live arrows. He's not, folks. It's all CGI. But that took me back to way back when. And what a tremendous feat that would be for any archer to bullseye a tennis ball and pin it up against the wall.
Going back to the parachute arrow for a second, though, that's got to be a heck of a thing to have to repack that parachute in an arrowhead when it's all said and done.
Well, that's why it was green. You don't repack it. It's a one and done.
One and done? Yeah, it seems kind of wasteful.
Yeah, that's very bad for the environment.
I figure it was some combination of atom shrinking technology and some kind of unstable molecule. I don't know. I'm trying to think. We all saw Future Flash's costume is going to come from a ring. Some kind of combination of that technology and the same things that make the atom suit shrink. I don't know. I just want it to be cool.
Let's just say Cisco magic.
I like that idea. Cisco magic it is.
Fair enough. Cisco was not around during the flashbacks. Cisco was not around 5 years ago, but Kovar definitely is.
He's a bad man. He must break you.
Oh, but what an entrance. Like, he's so smooth and so powerful that he doesn't need any sort of explosions, doesn't need anything. It's just him at a bar, behind his bar, fixing a drink and telling this turnip story. And it sounds ridiculous when I say it, but I'm not Dolph Lundgren just having that presence. It was just, gosh, he has aged so well.
So in order to channel your inner Dolph Lundgren, what you need to do is pour yourself a tumbler full of ginger ale and walk it around as you're talking and unbuttoning your sleeves and taking off your bow tie and just getting ready to snap somebody's neck. That's how you channel your inner Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, I mean, he was really good, and he's got a screen presence. He is a big, intimidating figure, and I can't wait to see the eventual brawl that he's going to have with Stephen Amell. And I kind of hope this is the beginning of, let's bring in some more 80s action stars into Arrow. I think that could be a lot of fun. I was talking to one of my friends at work about it. I'm like, let's just bring the Expendables, not necessarily like that movie in, but like the same kind of thing. Have this rotating cast of like 80s action stars that are coming in to be part of Kovar's gang or something like that. So people can be like, haha, that's awesome.
Next up, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, he's got his own TV show now on Netflix. He doesn't have time for this. That would be
Followed
awesome.
by Jackie Chan.
No, Jet Li. That's who we need.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Lots of Chuck Norris. That would be a good one to have on.
That might break the fourth wall unintentionally because everyone would start making Chuck Norris jokes. That's the problem.
Well, they break the fourth wall all the time. Okay, I've waited long enough. The quippy stuff that Felicity says, that Curtis say, that I loved in the show. The first couple of seasons, first 3 seasons, I loved it. But what I don't like is every single time they say one of these funny little quippy lines, it falls flat. And I know it's meant to fall flat, but no, it can't. They've got an audience now. Yes, they can laugh on some of the stuff. Some of the stuff is downright morbid, I grant you. But both Curtis and Felicity have thrown one-liners in there that are absolutely hilarious. And then nothing happens around them. And it's like, huh. Okay, I wish they would either stop doing that or change the reactions of people around them. It's ruining that part of the show for me.
Yeah, sometimes it feels forced. The timing is, comedy is all about timing. And, some of it is just like the rhythm's kind of off and something. But yeah, that needs to be improved.
The one line that actually did anything was in this entire season when Felicity is up on the catwalk with Oliver Queen in his Green Arrow suit, and he's talking about how the recruits are green. And Felicity said, well, you're a little green too, or I forget exactly what she said, but that was a joke that she's been waiting to say for 4 years. And actually it worked because Oliver reacted to it a little bit, specifically because it was physical comedy involved because she poked him in the chest. There is none of that outside of that one thing. And it needs to be enhanced because that's one of the pieces that's the heart of the show. And I'll get off my soapbox, but it's beginning to bug me.
I have to admit, I liked the last week's when she had the mask of him and he says, you have filled this city, kind of made fun of that. That was cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been low.
It was a callback to one of my favorite lines from season 1 and season 2, which we don't get very often now. So anytime he says, I'm like, oh, he said the line. So it was kind of fun to get someone else to bring it back and bring that nostalgia back.
This episode was all about the nostalgia. The list, the flashbacks, the tennis balls. It was even the Prometheus is calling back to the anagram, back to the list. And I think they're trying real hard to bring that magic back to season 1. Is it falling flat or is it working for them? What do you think, Chris?
It's working so far because I have enjoyed this much more than season 4 so far. Near the end of season 4, I was just like, what are they going to do now that's really going to frustrate me? And season 5, they've kind of been able to tap into more of the fun and more of the, for lack of a better term, the intensity that the fights had from earlier seasons of Arrow. So I've really enjoyed things so far, so it's okay to me.
Michelle, does Oliver have a girlfriend or not?
No, not officially. Now, girlfriend as in serious relationship or girlfriend as in one and done?
Well, that's not really a girlfriend. I guess the best way to describe girlfriend or define it, at least in this point in time, this is a CW show. So whatever CW would consider a girlfriend, that's your definition.
No, he's flirting with that reporter. which I think is going to turn into a fling gone wrong, but I don't think he's going to have like a girlfriend sort of deal.
Don't forget, Susan Williams is the reporter that you're referencing, and she knows that Oliver Queen was in Russia 5 years ago before he was found on Lian Yu.
That's why it's going to be a fling gone bad.
Fair. Oliver's going to get him a little something probably because it's a CW show. And then there could be some element of drama when she inevitably betrays him by revealing that somebody that looked like Oliver Queen was in Russia. And he can just be like, Photoshop! And problem solved.
That's one thing, unfortunately, with the flashback scenes that was lost a little bit on me because I know Oliver actually survives, so there's no threat of mortal danger coming after him when Dolph is talking to him. You know he gets out of it.
Well, that's always been the flaw with the flashbacks is there's moments of dramatic tension, but it's more around Oliver's friends and are any of them going to survive? Because we all obviously know, like you said, Oliver's going to live because we've seen him in the future.
So, like, I'm worried about Anatoly.
Oh,
You
me
know,
too.
like, Anatoly, I love how he's like a vocational teacher now, in Bratva, you learn skills. It's like, and now there's that war going on, and it's like, no, Anatoly has to live, but Oliver lives, and Kovar is dangerous, so no. I don't want to call that. I don't want to be right about that.
That was good. I need to look up the transcript because that line was great. You learn to make bomb, you learn welding skills, you learn how to fix cars or whatever it was. And yeah, it helps us with our extracurricular activities.
Extracurriculars. I don't know why that made me giggle.
I knew it would. That's why I put it in there.
Jeez.
Talking about giggling, what do you think about diggling?
Oh.
Okay, we're going to go past that and go straight to the wonderful heart-to-heart that he had with Oliver. I love those moments when they just where the bromance is alive, where Diggle can be like, Oliver, yes, this part's true, but no, you are evolving. It's that theme again of moving forward. Diggle's like, there's a rage kill, there's a good kill. Dark was a good kill. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Diggle
but
moments are great.
doesn't make up for all the rage kills in season 1.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got to overcome the fact that he was a legitimate straight up murderer, and I understand why the recruits kind of have issue with that. They're like, wait, that was you? You hid that from us? It's tough.
And they made pains to spell it out for everybody. The Hood, the Vigilante, the Arrow, the Green Arrow. Yeah, that was all the one and the same guy. That was Oliver.
Well, yeah, I mean, take away the story effect of things. If you saw all of those guys, pictures of them, they look pretty much the same. It's kind of flimsy to be like, oh no, the Arrow is dead. I'm the Green Arrow, and I look and sound almost exactly the same. But I swear, I'm a different person, guys. I'm not the same guy. I swear. I got some beachfront property to sell you in Nebraska while we're talking about this too.
Cool. I like the beaches in Nebraska.
Yeah, they're the best, man.
They're better than the ones in Iowa.
Touche.
So yeah, these recruits are a little bit naive if they haven't connected those dots because they've been living in Star City. Well, 4 of them, right? 3 out of the 4 have been living in Star City or Starling City all along. And they're not connecting that Oliver was one and the same all the way along. It's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, one guy that shoots a bow and arrow to kill people, and then this guy shoots a bow and arrow to shoot them in the knee. They're completely different. I understand.
Yeah, because
I understand the purposes
one's in
of plot,
Assassin's
but
Creed and the other one is in Skyrim.
I used to be an adventurer, but I took an arrow to the knee.
Well, there's also been the Dark Archer, so there have been 2 archers existing at the same time, like now. So, but yeah, the fact that they didn't put that together is kind of, lame.
Well, talking about the recruits and archers, let's go to Artemis. She's still using a bow and arrow. Ultimately, it's probably not going to be her weapon of choice. Maybe it is. I don't know. We know she's going to become the new Canary, or at least that's what we're speculating. She has been left on the side up till this episode. This episode, she's brought to the forefront, and we get a little bit more character development. Michelle, do you like what you're seeing?
First off, it was great to see that the actor can speak more than 2 sentences in a row. That was great. I thought it was interesting that they used her. If somebody didn't watch last season, it was a little the clunky exposition part of like, you didn't let me kill my parents because of Rue Day Dark and the lab and my parents and the thing. But once you got over that, I thought it was I thought it was good that they used her to be like that sort of voice of conscience and of doubt and such.
It was clunky, but it actually made me remember. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. She was all hung up over that. And I went, okay, now it makes sense, because I had honestly forgotten, because it sounds terrible, but she's kind of been in the background of things, not had much to do. So it's kind of like, okay, we have this character. I'll find out more about her at some point when they put her in the center, in the forefront of things.
Ragman has really coming on too. He's like the board of reason for the recruits.
Well, he's also a murderer too, so he can kind of see where Oliver's come from, I think.
Takes one to know one.
I mean, that's the thing, is these guys they're not very accepting of the fact that Oliver killed a bunch of people, but don't forget, Ragman killed a bunch of people too before he came and joined Team Arrow. It's just, I think it's more for the recruits' standpoint. They feel that Oliver has kept them out of the loop again. It's another instance where it's original Team Arrow knows everything, and they're on the outside looking in going, what the hell? I thought we were a team.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, go.
Well, but that's how Oliver's always operated. He was alone and he knew it. And then it took a while for Felicity to get into his inner circle. Then it took Diggle. And then you had the OTA, and then Laurel, she was out, and everything. And then she finally had to come in. So it's not like when Oliver, had this other team that everybody all of a sudden knew everything. It always takes time for Oliver to share. He's not a sharer. And
Well, I agree with that. But from their standpoint, they're just seeing that Oliver trusts them a lot more than they trust us.
But they're new.
Yeah. Well, they're not making that connection necessarily, is all I'm saying. It's like, hey, we're supposed to be part of the same team. What the hell, man?
Well, man, don't leave me behind.
Come on, man.
I want to be part of the team. I don't want to be picked last. Yeah, that was a little hard to take. But at the same time, you go back to the trust issues. You go back to the fact that Oliver is keeping secrets from the entire team. And you go back to the fact that he's a murderer. There are some serious issues with Oliver. He is not the pristine leader that one might think, being the star of the show.
Well, and he kind of admits that when he's talking to Artemis at the end, that he still is changing and he needs to work on things. And that's true. Oliver is still rough around the edges despite how much he has progressed from season 1.
Okay. So I think we need to talk about, if you're talking about Oliver progressing from season 1, he's the mayor now, and you got to talk about the people around him in City Hall. First of all, there's Thea, right? She's chief of staff. She's organizing this great concert, but she's also trying to shepherd Quentin Lance along. Is she doing a good job being the chief of staff? Is she living up to the hype of the young bar manager turned chief of staff?
She's doing an all right job, it seems like. Comes up with the whole music concert promotion and things like that, and thinks that she's doing a good job keeping herd on Quentin, which I'm sure we'll touch on later. But she's doing all right, but she's got only one life to live, which kind of makes it a little easier for her to keep on track of things. Whereas Oliver, again, it's a recurring theme over 5 seasons now. He can't be both Oliver and the Green Arrow successfully at the same time. It's a pendulum. He swings back and forth between them anymore, it seems like.
Michelle, how's Thea doing in that daughter-father relationship that she's beginning with Quentin?
I think she's had to learn a tough lesson that Quentin lies. He says he's a drunk, and the fact that she had to go through his stuff to find the bottle. I think it hurt her because she's seeing a side that Laurel saw. Laurel saw that side. Because with Sarah, it was, everything apparently was fine before Sarah died. So Laurel's the one that saw, Daddy fall from grace and Daddy with that problem. And now Thea's has to fill those shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't argue with any of that.
Yeah. Thea is trying her darndest. She has never really dealt with this before. She has had a father that she thought was real, that was not. Then she had a stepfather, which was probably really the best father figure she's ever had in Walter. And then she had her real daddy, who was Guano crazy in Malcolm. And now she's got Quentin. So she's had her share of father figures, and none of them have been the same. So she's never really dealt with this before, but she is doing a mostly effective job. I do want to address the fact that Quentin is drinking. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Quentin. Do you think he's actually drinking, or do you think he's being manipulated to think he's drinking and controlled?
Both. I think he is to some extent, but then there's other times when he's trying not to and is then manipulated into thinking so. Because I think when he came in, he very much tried to make a change to stop, but then I think someone behind the scenes kind of kept pushing and making it seem like he was.
Michelle, what's your take on Quentin?
He said in the season premiere that he's a drunk and that drunks know how to lie. As someone who's had issues, it's easy to build up a front and to present it and to, lie to people. Because he's had this storyline before where he's fallen from grace and been the addict and been the drunk, and I think he's just having that problem again.
Certainly could look like that, but however, he was found, and we haven't really touched on it before. You got Prometheus running around killing people, and he's using these special stars. Felicity found one of the stars on her boyfriend's desk, the detective, and she took it to try to do some analysis on. I think that same star, possibly, maybe another, was then used on Quentin to cut his arm, because in the fight with Artemis in the subway, Artemis cut Prometheus on the arm. So it's made to look like he either was covering it up or he was Prometheus himself. Quentin was Prometheus himself and hiding under the "I'm drunk." So that's kind of the issues with Quentin. And it's not, I don't think it's as straightforward as I first thought on the first watch through.
Conspiracy theory, maybe there's two Prometheuses or Promethei or however you would pluralize it. It's not always Quentin. I don't think that's the case, but I just wanted to throw a weird idea out there.
Yeah. Well, we have a voicemail from somebody else that has a lot of wild ideas about Quentin and Prometheus. You guys ready to hear it?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Hello, Starling Tribune. It's Stephen John Drew here, the owner of GonnaGeek.com, i.e. the guy that just doesn't know anything about anything. But I wanted to send you a bit of a clip for today's show because I got talking with the fantastic Chris Farrell at 5 o'clock this morning, my time. And he literally said to me, "Stephen, go back to bed." I wanted to talk a little bit about a theory that I've got for Arrow this week and the future of Arrow. We're wondering, who is Prometheus? We don't know. We saw at the end of the episode, it looked like former Captain Lance might be Prometheus. I don't buy it. I think that it's a setup, personally. I think that his drunken state is a side effect of something else that's going on. I think, he woke up, we saw him, he looked really out of it. Yeah, maybe it is a drunken stupor, but maybe he was drugged. And so Prometheus actually came in, slashed his arm to make it look like that because he knows Team Arrow is absolutely onto him. So my theory is it's actually Felicity's boyfriend. He's got access to the evidence. And here's the twist. It's all to do with the list. He has a relative. I'm going to go ahead out on a limb here and say it's his dad who was on the list and who Oliver killed. He actually has probably known who Oliver was. That's how he ended up getting to Felicity. That's my thoughts on it. And I really do think it's Felicity's boyfriend. He's the one that's been doing it. He has planted the damage on Lance because he knows that now they're going to go and see Lance and they're going to be like, what? So he knows all about it. It was not a surprise that Oliver is Arrow/Hood. And I think it was a really good episode last night and lots of great callbacks to early seasons. And so there's my prediction. It's Felicity's boyfriend. And also to reinforce that, the evidence was intentionally left. I don't think that it's actually a bunch of stars maybe made, but he maybe made one and left it there so that he gave a bit of a clue so that she would find that out and now narrow it down to the people who had access to everything. And there you go. Detective Lance had access over the years and obviously blames Oliver on some degree to the death of Laurel and Sarah before. So I think that it is absolutely Felicity's boyfriend. Bye. Keep up the good work.
Whoa, ho, ho. Thank you very much, Stephen, for that voicemail. Michelle, the boyfriend, is he on the list?
Yes, I have still kept him on the list of suspects. Again, for all the reasons why Stephen said, here's the thing. Not only does he have access to, the evidence locker, and maybe that's how he got the arrows, but when Felicity, for some dumb reason, decides to tell this guy she's known for like 10 minutes that she works for the Green Arrow, and his first thing, he was like, well, that's a criminal, you're a criminal, and then he pauses. Hey, but that's all right. Hey, girl, that's cool. And then he's all like, hey, is he scarred up? Hey, do you know where he lives? And he was just too eager, too cool with it. And that's why he is still one of the people on my list of suspects.
There you go. You've heard it here first on the Starling Tribune. In our newsroom, Michelle is pegging, I believe, Billy Malone is his name? His character's name? You're pegging him as one of the possible suspects to be Prometheus. Now, you actually had some other people on your list. Who is at the top of that list if it's not Billy Malone?
Well, still have Tommy Merlin. Have Robert Queen. He wrote the list. Could be him. I still have Shadow because she was on the island. And again, it's also about like who knows the list. I still have Slade Wilson, pretending to be Prometheus, and maybe he'll be Deathstroke later. I do have Quentin Lance on the list of suspects, but I think it's a red herring. I think it's a big setup. And I put somebody else on there. This is real left field. I don't know, but I put Roy. He's been mentioned earlier. He's had access to the arrows, and he might have seen the list. So that came to me at like 8 o'clock this morning. I was in the shower, and I was like, it's slim pickings, but I'm like, you know what? I'll just put him on there anyway because I took a few people off the list. So
there's more than just that one book of the list. There were a few copies floating around. So I know we've seen some destroyed, but somebody else might have had a list that we didn't know about or we didn't even know of. Like maybe somebody that we know has the list and we didn't know about, or maybe somebody that we didn't know had the list. I don't know. So it doesn't necessarily have to come from Oliver, but it does make a nice plot point if it came from Oliver or his father, Robert.
Weren't there Russians during some of the Bratva flashbacks that found the book and were talking about it? Not this week, but the week before. So there's another potential loop you could have is someone from his Bratva past could potentially have the list.
I'm thinking, what's his name? Mikhail?
Mikhail, I can't say it properly.
Yeah, I think the guy that tried to kill Oliver Queen last week, or have him killed by bringing in some iron guns and a pretty girl. I think
Victor?
yeah, is that Victor? Is that
was
his name?
Victor.
Victor?
That was Victor.
I think Victor should be on that list.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put Victor on the list.
Right. So Prometheus definitely had an interesting plot in here, going around killing people because the anagrams of their names are people of the list. That is something that would have taken me a long time to come up with, and definitely took Felicity and Curtis programming and algorithms using NSA databases, SCPD databases, everything they could get their hands on, and they finally found it. So Prometheus definitely is a sneaky one. That's a new one. I've never heard of an anagram killer like that.
No, it's a very interesting twist to try and make people think. And it makes for an interesting story point, I guess, too.
He's got a lot of time on his hands, if it's a he.
True. Or a she. Maybe she has a lot of time on her hands. After washing her hair on Saturday, got the rest of the week.
Because one of the things about it, I don't like how Felicity all of a sudden, like at the end, she was like, oh, it must be somebody who has access to the evidence room. We might be looking at a cop. But it's like, there are other ways to get arrows from Green Arrow. He probably littered. And also, even if it could be somebody, Prometheus could have paid somebody to have gone into the evidence room. So it's not necessarily, a cop.
Right.
So it's... I'm afraid she's going to jump there.
Now, the other person that might be involved here is DA Adrian Chase, especially because he welcomed the Green Arrow in with open arms, cleared the room, cleared the crime scene, contaminating evidence, obviously, to have the Green Arrow in. And he could be in play, too, either as the vigilante, as we know has been cast later on this season, or as Prometheus.
I think we're going to see him next week as Vigilante from the preview.
Yeah.
That's just my thought.
DVR recording cut off at the preview this week. It was really weird. I'm going to have to go in and extend the time frame a couple of minutes, but of course with the election, the whole thing's probably
it's all jacked
screwed up. Yep, absolutely. So, Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to bring forward that we have not touched on yet?
They didn't talk about Laurel this week. You can't have Arrow without Laurel. Yeah. Yeah.
They did talk about coffee, though, so there could have been a barista.
Oh, I hate you guys.
You brought it up, man. You had to bring up Laurel.
You did. So, Michelle, what do you got?
No, I think I'm good. Oh, except for I like the little. It looks like Wild Dog has been trying to hit on Thea, and boy, she just shot him down. It's like, good for you, Thea. You can do a lot better.
That was the same shoot down that she did with the DJ originally, right?
Yes. Very similar, now that I'm thinking about it.
Wild Dog could be the new DJ boy.
Oh, he's in, man. He's in like Flynn. He's going to show up for like 3 episodes, be a bad guy, and then get killed off.
Exactly. Wild Dog's going to turn into a bad guy. And that's not a far throw either, but...
Nah.
Think he's going to be good? You think he and Thea are going to date this year, Michelle?
No. There's no chemistry there.
No, nothing. All right. Well, if we don't have that, let's go ahead and talk about our next episode. What we got coming at us next week?
We have Vigilante.
Ah.
Yeah, it's going to air Wednesday, November 16th. When the bodies of 2 criminals are dropped at SCPD, Oliver realizes there is a new vigilante in Star City. The team is split about whether they should stop someone who is helping keep the city safe. Diggle is frustrated with his new situation, and Thea fights for Lance, who confesses a shocking secret. Meanwhile, in the flashbacks, Oliver finally sits down with Konstantin Kovar, director.
He's already seated. He's tied to a chair in front of him.
Well, I guess it probably means like a true sit down, like, because at the end he says, "I'm glad to finally meet you, Oliver Queen." So I guess it's like the official, "I'm Kovar, you're Oliver Queen. I know this," sort of official.
So they
more...
both can have glasses of ginger ale together. Okay.
Well, of course, ginger ale's the best.
It's what you get in a bar, right?
Indeed.
Directed by Gordon Verheuvel. Writers are Ben Skolowaski and Amelia Ortega Aldrich.
Yes, all veterans. I don't know if Gordon is a veteran, but the writers are definitely veterans. So it will be cool. So we have been going through this DC checklist, which originally was the Bat checklist. It evolved into pop culture references, and we actually steal a lot of it from comicbook.com. We have a new article this week. Michelle, why don't you start us off with the first Easter egg?
So it begins. As Felicity notes in the episode, the title, and also that little message and fire left for Oliver, a la the Daredevil movie, is a line from Babylon 5. Specifically, it was spoken by Kosh in the episode Crystallis and became an oft-repeated reference quote from the series. Now, in addition, this is my addition. Kosh was the Volon Empire's ambassador to Babylon 5, and the line is said to Sinclair and refers to Deline starting her transformation. And because it's like, we're transforming into another part of the, season, because now the church part of it's done. We're now going into the whole Prometheus part. Prometheus has transformed to whatever the person was before and now has become Prometheus. So I just thought I would kind of add that in there.
Nice. I like the transformation. Chris, what do we got for our next Easter egg?
So next, they reference Aparo and Puckett streets. Tobias Church's cell phone turned up in a warehouse on Aparo and Puckett, two streets named after veteran DC Comics creators Jim Aparo and Kelly Puckett. Puckett is a writer best known for his work in the Batman family of titles. Among his most notable works are the co-creations of the Cassandra Cain Batgirl and Connor Hawke, the son of Oliver Queen. Aparo is one of the most recognizable Batman artists of his era. His last ongoing series assignment before he passed away was Green Arrow number 81 through 100 in the 90s, during which time he and Puckett introduced Connor Hawke. So nice Easter egg and shout out to some DC veterans, which they've done a very good job of doing throughout the Berlanti-verse.
And Oliver's son keeps on coming up to my forefront of my mind. I would like to see the son and the mom back, but I don't even know if they exist in Flashpoint or not. I think they do, because I think that's what drove Oliver and Felicity apart last year. But in any event, it's good to see those references. Now, on to Ishmael Gregor, who's played by David Munir, who is known to TV fans for his role on FX's Justified. If you have not seen Justified, it is worth you going and finding it. It was an awesome show. Gangsta rap, basically, down in Kentucky backwaters. The dialogue alone is worth it. Anyway, he's joined the cast of Arrow tonight as Ishmael Gregor. Gregor is in the comics as a character who's been known to make a physical transformation into a demon, complete with magical powers, but considering remarks by the showrunners about a more grounded season 5, it seems unlikely that his primary role will be as a human running the Russian mob.
Cool.
Would have liked to have seen the demon, because then maybe we could get Constantine back. Hashtag bring back Constantine.
Oh, my heart hurts.
I know. Okay, and finally, worth mentioning, Konstantin Kovar finally appears on screen. First time this week, played by Dolph Lundgren. Channel 52 makes another appearance. And then, as we mentioned before, tennis ball training session, call back to early seasons, and of course, the list. Only thing that was missing off of my nostalgia checklist was a shirtless Ollie doing a salmon ladder. Like, I was like, list, tennis balls. Oh, man.
Give it time. It might happen.
It might. We'll see. Hey, he's got to get buffed now for his American Ninja Warrior
It's true.
appearance next year, right?
That's true. He's going to be on Ninja Warrior, and I can't wait to see it.
I think that wraps it up for the episode. We're going to move on into some news. As the editor-in-chief, I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about the first news story, which is really just a conglomeration of the ratings for the season. I looked up the first 6 episodes ratings. It started with a 0.187 with Legacy. It moved into a 0.194 with the Recruits, fell down to 1.79 with A Matter of Trust, and continued its kind of mediocre performance with Penance at 1.87. Human Target last week was the lowest rating at 1.61, but this week it gains top billing this season with So It Begins at 1.95. Okay, so 1.95 is the best, but it's still below 2. They really need to crouch up above 2. I think we're moving in a positive direction, and I hope with the election over with and the nation's returning back to some sort of normalcy, that people's attention will go back to the stuff that they like, and they will determine that Arrow is a show worth coming back and watching. So we'll keep our eyes on this, and I think we have another news story a little bit later discussing this as well. In the meantime, Michelle, you have a news story on Stephen Amell and Oliver's relationship.
Yes, in an interview with TV Line, Stephen Amell said, "I don't know if he's ready to move on, but it's time for Oliver to have another relationship. Earlier this year, I was speaking with showrunner Wendy Miracle, and I was like, look, there's 2 things we're no longer allowed to write about Oliver. We're no longer allowed to call him a billionaire because he lost his family fortune, and we're currently not allowed to say playboy. He's dated 1 woman since season 2, and he had a fling with Isabel Rochev. That's it. If you like him to be a playboy, then all means start writing him like one." So again, the fling.
Well, he was a playboy in the flashback. So
Yeah.
the flashbacks, you could still call him that. But yeah.
He still has his reputation from prior to going to Lian Yu, rather, where people still remember the arrogant Oliver Queen throwing around his family money who seemingly slept with anything that walked.
5 years on a deserted island with limited nutrition. I think, you might end up with performance issues out of that. Just, saying. Maybe that's why
he's got his magic herbs from Lian Yu. He's fine.
Oh, yeah. The magic mushrooms and herbs.
With the magic tattoo.
That's right.
That's right. Still's got the magic tattoo.
Constantine's tattoo that he gave him also prevents ED. It's okay. He'll be fine.
And STDs, so it's a really good tattoo.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to consider STDs and ED as worthy adversaries, maybe let's talk about another worthy adversary.
So Stephen Amell's been doing some interviews. He had a really interesting interview where he basically called Dolph Lundgren's character, quote, a worthy adversary. On the way Dolph Lundgren works on set, Stephen Amell said he's very thoughtful and contemplates his lines and has been great so far, but it's a real change of pace. I do think it would have been a missed opportunity in the last year of flashbacks to not have a really worthy adversary. We found that in Dolph, which is why we'll have him around for a while. It's been a blast to work with him. It's been awesome. So it sounds like they're having fun on set, and they're kind of enjoying the fact that Dolph Lundgren is one heck of a presence there.
He would definitely be welcome in my house. Lots of ginger ale here. So talking about Dolph Lundgren as a fan favorite, let's talk about another fan favorite in the show. That would be Anatoly. Michelle, what do you got on him?
Well, at the celebration for Arrow's 100th episode, David Nickel, who plays Niaznev, me and names, spoke to CBR about his character's evolution, whether or not Anatoly has ulterior motives, and more. And he said, calling someone a bad character is always a misnomer because no one's really bad. They're either misunderstood or they're just trying to do something and they're not going about it in the right way. I really think he's just a simple sort of guy that has got caught up in deeper situations. There's more to him than meets the eye.
Right. Not really bad. Or maybe they're written poorly, but I think Anatoly's written just fine.
I do too. I like Anatoly.
Well,
Please
Chris,
live.
what's that, Michelle?
Please live.
That's right. We've talked a bit about the ratings before. We've talked about the flashbacks going 5 seasons. Are we at the end of Arrow?
So there's actually an interesting article you can go read for yourself over at Entertainment Weekly, which is in the show notes, where Stephen Amell and Mark Guggenheim actually discussed this idea. The article examines why season 5 could be a natural ending, but Mark Guggenheim says, no, I think we tend to look at season 5 as the end of a particular chapter. Arrow doesn't seem to be in any danger of cancellation at present. While the ratings might be down from last season, just like SP has talked about, it still remains one of the CW's 4 most watched programs. The show's longevity seems to surprise even the producers. They say the flashback storyline was always a 5-year deal, according to Mark Guggenheim, and they intend to stick with that plan. The show just turned out to be more successful than we anticipated. Also in this article, Stephen Amell discusses why Season 4 disappointed him at times and how he likes the renewed focus of Season 5. So Stephen, you and I are on the same page right there. Season 4 disappointed me at places. Probably me more so than you, because I can say that and have no burn back on me. But yeah, Season 5, I think you guys are right back on the right path now.
The show just turned out to be more successfully than we anticipated, quote unquote. I think that is a mild understatement because it spawned at least 3 spinoffs. Flash, I will consider it to be a spinoff. Supergirl, I will also be considered to be a spinoff. And Legends of Tomorrow, which is the obvious spinoff of everything. Yes, there's other shows like Vixen and Constantine and so on and so forth. But Arrow started it all. We've discussed it on this podcast before. And we also discussed how the WB on the cinematic side did not understand what they had on the TV side. And then realizing the two are not connected, but yet if they use a character in the movies, they have generally killed them off or labeled them off limits for the TV universe. I think WB was caught off guard with how successful the TV universe was as well. So I will concur with that statement from the showrunner. Is that from Mark Guggenheim or is that from
Mark
ML?
Guggenheim? Yeah.
There you go. So all that aside, we have just some fun playing superheroes, supervillains, and vigilantes. Right, Michelle?
Yeah, Arrow's Josh Segarra reveals what excites him about playing Vigilante. Next week's episode of Arrow is titled Vigilante, and it will center on the character of Star City District Attorney Adrian Chase and introduce his costume alter ego Vigilante. He told comicbook.com during the Arrow's 100 episode party that they were working hard not to disappoint anybody who read the comics and had expectations for the character. The biggest question that I have for myself as an actor is, why does this person become the person that they are? He said, so what's going to be hard is that in the middle of the season, I get to introduce Vigilante. So now I'm getting to tell that backstory, and we get to tell the biggest pieces and get to show him becoming who he is before episode 7. So this is why I have him scratched off of the Prometheus list of suspects, because it seems to be apparent that he's Vigilante, unless this is like the biggest, like throwing everything off, but I don't really think so.
I wouldn't put anything past him, but at the same time, easier is always better. So, yep, probably not Prometheus, but we'll see. Not going to call it quite yet. I think that's it for the Arrow news for the week. Let's move on to the general DC TV news desk. Chris, you have a great story about Supergirl and Cyborg Superman.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to me. There's an article up on Newsarama that talks about the upcoming episode description for the November 21st episode of Supergirl entitled The Darkest Place, where they say in line 1, it's Supergirl versus Cyborg Superman. While Guardian tries to clear his name after being accused of a murder committed by another vigilante, Supergirl heads out on a solo mission to rescue Mon-El, who has been captured by Cadmus. Now, while fighting to free Mon-El, Supergirl comes face to face with Cyborg Superman. So if you guys aren't familiar with Cyborg Superman, in the comics, it is Hank Henshaw who is in fact Cyborg Superman, who was introduced when they killed Superman in the early 90s. Now, we do know that the real Hank Henshaw is presumably dead, and John Jones has assumed his appearance. But there's one of two ways I think this could go. Hank Henshaw, the original, has been brought back and powered by Kryptonian and Cadmus science to become Cyborg Superman. Or if you really want to go for the twist, it is Dean Cain's character, who is Supergirl's adoptive father, whose name I just forgot all of a sudden, who ends up being Cyborg Superman. So you have a nice little callback there to the fact that, hey, Dean Cain is a Superman, so now he's Cyborg Superman, and that would be kind of cool.
It would. We've all speculated over the DC TV personalities that have played Superman that are playing other characters right now. So it'd be great to make that callback to bring them together. You know what would also be great is to have Adam come back and be some sort of a cyborg Superman too.
Yeah, I'd take that.
I'm hoping that it's Dean Cain because they keep saying that was taken in by Cadmus and everything. So it's like he's got to come back, and this would be a great way for him to come back all of a sudden, because it wouldn't just be Kara that would be hurt. It would also be Alex and everything. Like it would just be this huge emotional punch to everybody, which is why it would be awesome.
Think of the gut punch for Kara when she goes to fight this unknown person and sees that it's half Jeremiah's face, because I remembered the name all of a sudden, and half just a robot face. Because if you've seen the comics, Cyborg Superman has a very distinctive look eventually, which is pretty much half of his face is robotic skeleton, and then he's got half a human face. So it would make for a very cool appearance on screen.
It would. And I think that meeting should take place on the top of a mountain on an island where Kara comes to him to bring him a lightsaber.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, through a little Star Wars.
But then
reference.
Jeremiah's not going to talk. He's just going to sit there and stare powerfully.
Yeah, then that would be boring for 40 minutes.
It would, and that's how I envision what's going on in the Star Wars universe right now. But in any event, let's get back to talk to some action-y DC TV, Legends of Tomorrow. What do we got going on with Sarah?
Well, in an interview, it's one of the things about Legends of Tomorrow, Sarah's there and Damien Dark, and the article's about even if she wants to, Sarah can't bring back Laurel. Sarah Lays can't kill Damien Dark because of the consequences. In an interview with comicbook.com, Katie Lutz said, "The thing is, I can't kill him. If I kill him in 1942 or 1952, all of those years that he was supposed to do everything would be messed up. It's a big change to history, so I wouldn't be able to even kill him. I think she's struggling now that she's captain with this higher sense of purpose. It's not just all about her. She has to consider other people. You see what happens with Barry Allen when he changed the timeline. She's coming around and being like, I have to accept this. But I still think there's something in her that is always going to want to change it. And I don't know if she has the opportunity, if she would pass it up. I think it's still a big area of conflict for her. And of course, she misses her sister."
What a mirror conflict to Rip Hunter last year and trying to change the future / history to bring back his wife and son. So she's dealing with the same sort of conflict as Captain. And wasn't that such a powerful scene when Stein acquiesced his captaincy to her?
Oh, it was.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about Legends of Tomorrow, there are responsibilities when it comes to time travel, even when it is something that really disagrees with the future.
Yeah. In an episode called Abominations, which it's one of the best Legends episodes. And here it is. It's this episode with Confederate zombies, but it also dealt with slavery in a very respectful way. And executive producer Mark Guggenheim talks about the responsibility of time travelers when it comes to the question of slavery and how the CW's time traveling show differs from others on the air. It's a nice little video.
So other time travel shows that are on the air right now, which would be Timeless, maybe Frequency on the CW network. Anything else on the TV at this point in time that deals with time travel?
Isn't there a mid-season replacement or something that's coming up that's supposed to be a time travel show? I kind of remember something from the upfronts, but I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I don't either. So I have to assume he's mentioning one of those, probably Timeless over on NBC, but I'm not quite sure about that. So it'd be interesting to see more of his comments with time travel and stuff like that. definitely. So Legends of Tomorrow actually is outperforming expectations, Chris, isn't it?
That's right. It's doing so well that I guess the CW picked up an additional 4 episodes, bringing the total season 2 order to 17 episodes. Evidently, the time travel series has been one of the stronger ratings performers for the CW, with steady deliverings and strong time shifted viewing, averaging 2.3 million viewers and a 0.9 rating with adults in the 18 to 49 demographic. It has improved the Thursday 8 p.m. time period by 35% in viewers and 13% in the Magic 18 to 49 demographic versus last fall when the Vampire Diaries aired there. So it's outperforming Arrow right now.
And on a coveted Thursday night slot where primetime TV used to have its just concrete dominance. You think back, Chris, when you and I were growing up, me growing up before you had shows like The Cosby Show, you had Family Ties, you had Cheers, you had Friends, you had these sitcoms on NBC must-see TV for 2 decades, Seinfeld, that you just could not get any other airtime to go. Other networks put show after show after show up against NBC's lineup. They failed. They lost. And then NBC's stronghold of Thursday night failed, but it's still a big TV watched night. And to get a 2.3 rating when Arrow doesn't even get that on Wednesday nights is actually pretty good. My one comment about the 4 extra episodes is please have a storyline and please don't make it fall apart, because they had a plan going into the season. And if 4 more episodes are going to break that plan, it's not going to be good for the series.
You genuinely touched on what my biggest concern is on that, is the fact that you plan out an overarching plot for what's supposed to happen that season, and partway through the season, CW decides to order 3 more. Please don't just be generic random filler episodes, and at the same time don't try and stretch out something that you've already got at a decent pacing to add in another episode where you do something. Try and find some way to make it work without making it blatantly obvious they weren't planned for. That's all I'm really hoping for. Keep some momentum going forward. Don't screw it up, please.
Yeah, you can't. If anything's working right now, Legends of Tomorrow is, and don't screw it up.
Well, one thing is it's sort of turned into like this American Doctor Who, because they're going after these aberration time things. And so it does have that sort of like adventure type of thing that they probably could do a few more episodes of fun bar fighting, sort of making out with the French Queen sort of deal.
Yeah, I admit I'm a couple episodes behind right now on Legends of Tomorrow. I do have plans to get caught up hopefully this weekend. The CW app is going to come in handy for me, but we'll see. I mean, it's kind of a half work, half vacation weekend for me. So if I don't get caught up, I don't. And I'll be pushing into Thanksgiving to get caught up. So really hoping for it. But the scene that I talked about before, I just watched it with Stein turning over the captaincy to Sarah Lance, and it was one of the fist pumping moments of the season, definitely. But talking about the other shows, Supergirl and Kevin Smith have revealed some of the secrets of flight.
See, this is the type of Kevin Smith story I like to talk about. Kevin Smith reveals the secrets of Supergirl's flight scenes. In his latest Facebook video, director Kevin Smith took his fans behind the scenes of Supergirl's latest episode. Smith, who will direct the season's 11th episode, Supergirl Lives, stands back and lets the production crew work their magic in the brief scene which finds Melissa Benoist, Supergirl, taking flight. It is a great video. You see the huge green screen. She actually has a harness underneath the suit, and how just great she is, and the whole crew, they know exactly what they're doing. It's a well-oiled machine, and I highly recommend you check it out.
Yep, it's not the glass table effects of the late 70s and 80s, that's for sure. Well, talking about great CW superheroes, the crossover revealed on Entertainment Weekly's issue cover.
Yeah, This is a link to the article about the Entertainment Weekly's cover about the DC crossover. The best part of it is the little video up in front. Gosh, these guys are so adorable. Actors can only do so much. There comes a point where you really realize that they, as just people, actually like each other and they actually like working with each other. And you can really see that in this video. It's really cute and it's like 4 minutes or something. It's just go. It's really cool.
Yep. Just go and see that. So we're going to move on from news for this week. We're going to slide into feedback. Michelle's queued up an awful lot of great feedback because she is enjoying the live tweeting of the Starling Tribune Twitter account. Michelle, I'm just going to let you take over here. What do you got?
Well, Roxy at Who Am I? This is me. Says, having completely caught up with CW's The Flash and almost through with CW's Arrow, it's time to start with Crimson Podcast and us, the Starling Tribune. So, yeah, enjoy.
Nice.
Thank you very much, Roxy. I really appreciate you sticking with us.
Then we got Peter Lloyd at Enlight Bystand. It's cute. Says, forget the murder rate affecting property prices in Star City. The apocalypse rate will be far more significant. And then I said, maybe then I can afford a cute 2-bedroom overlooking the water.
Yeah.
And his reply was to like my reply. So, we're property, of course. Get that nice little apartment.
I know Neil and Stephen have discussed the property values of the Vancouver area. And even though it would be somewhere where I would like to have like a timeshare or something like that, it would be expensive. I know that because property is expensive up there for some reason. I don't know. Canadians liking the water views. Go figure. It's either that or the tundra and an igloo. I prefer the water view.
Me too. Then we have Mike at Jurek. Podcast playlist for Tuesday at Airpoint Minute and eventually on his list, Starling Tribune. So thank you for putting us on your list, Mike.
Yes.
For podcast.
Yes, Mike, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Mike runs a podcast of his own over across the pond, and it's always great to be on his playlist.
All right. Now, I had a Twitter exchange with Ferris at DX Ferris.
Oh, no.
It's about
Brace yourselves, everyone.
Okay. All right. So he tweets at me at Starling Tribune. Legends of Tomorrow. Firestorm dispatches zombie mob. By dropping a lantern on them, I quit this show. I said, in defense of Jax, Stein was on the ship fighting zombie Mick. Then he replies, there's always some kind of reason Firestorm can unleash some whoop-ass. Might as well have Bill on the team. Then I replied, true, but it's probably lack of Firestorm equals lack of budget. And then he replied, end of Act 1, Firestorm. Next 39 minutes to eat shawarma. Budget problem solved. Or, tight shot of Canary. He's turning into Firestorm. Whoa, he nuked the hell out of those zombies. And then I replied, I vote shawarma.
Don't we all?
Shawarma.
And I'll admit, before Avengers, I had no idea what shawarma was. Now I've had shawarma a few times. I like shawarma. Thank you very much, Avengers.
Thanks, RDJ.
And thank you very much, Ferris, for your conversations back and forth. Actually, as we live record, he's been tweeting us as well. So stay tuned next week for more great Ferris stories. Chris, we talked about some of the other great shows. We have podcasts covering some of those shows on the GonnaGeek.com network, which we are a part of. Do you have something to say to our listener about a podcast on the network that is not the Starling Tribune?
So we always try to recommend at least one podcast that you guys should go and listen to. And this one I'm going to make slightly self-serving. It's one of my favorite shows to listen to. It's generally my Friday morning drive into work show. It's Game Life Balance US. It's with Cody Goff and Jonathan Martin. Well, this week, Jonathan Martin was unable to make the show. So last second, Cody called in some scrub replacement by the name of Chris Farrell to come in. And I will say, it was a lot of fun to hop onto a show that I have listened to a lot of times but never actually been on, and to hear Cody tell some stories about what it was like in Chicago the night of Game 7 of the World Series, his experiences as Wrigleyville rather just exploded in excitement and happiness, and his stories about the parade. It was really cool just to hear about the experience in Chicago at that point in time. And then I also shared a story with Cody about how I realized I'm an old man now. I've hit that point in life where I'm officially old because I can't do some of the things that I used to do, and how I have grappled with my mortality on that. And it was kind of an entertaining lesson in what's gone on. But really, it was a blast to go be on Game Life Balance US. Thank you to Cody for allowing me to guest host on that. And I guess thank you to Jonathan Martin for bailing on Cody so I had the chance to be there. So go check that out over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
First of all, don't talk to me about old. When your beard starts turning gray, then you can start talking to me about
there
getting
is
old.
gray in my beard. You just can't see it.
Do you
very
have
well on camera.
bifocals, by the way?
No.
Do you?
No.
Yeah, okay. So just don't talk to me about that. But second of all, for those that don't know, Cody Goff actually moonlights over on WGN Radio, the home of the Cubs in Chicago. So Cody has a unique perspective on. Now, Cody doesn't cover the Cubs, but he works part-time over at WGN. And in case you didn't know, you might just want to listen in on his unique perspective about living in Chicago and the Cubs' victory. And also, if you want to check out more about Cody, you can check him out at verifiedcodygoff.com.
I love it. I love it a lot. So, guys, I think it's about time we start wrapping things up for this latest installment of the Starling Tribune. So a big thank you to our live listeners we've had here in the chat room on Geeks.live. I saw Suncast in there. I saw Black Adam in there. Thank you to everyone who downloads the podcast from our website or listens to any of the replays on Spreaker or on YouTube, anything like that. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks for coming by. And oh, by the way, tell other listeners they can join in live Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on www.geeks.live. And I just want to say thank you very much to our video editor, Chris, because then I don't have to do it, and all of the other fans of our show.
You can watch the next show live on the Gonna Geek Network over on Geeks.live. The next live show on the network is All Things Good and Nerdy, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. We appreciate all those reviews and 5 stars. Like us on Facebook and YouTube and badger us on Twitter. You can find all of our contact information on the Gonna Geek Network at GonnaGeekNetwork.com, where you can check out our forums and other shows. If you want to share your thoughts, head on over to our Facebook page, send in a tweet, or you can call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283.
That was a great episode, guys. I love keeping track of this show. It's still one of my favorite shows on TV right now. I think that wraps it up for this week. Any last words before we sign off for the week? At the Chris Farrell.
Hashtag Babylon 5 forever.
At Michelle Ely.
Hashtag Cisco Magic.
And I'm found at Stargate Pioneer. Hashtag bring back the funny quips. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GonnaGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GonnaGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.